because I want to talk about make or break players specifically from the Toronto Raptors season. And yeah, Wolfond, you already alluded to this earlier, but you know, tell us why Scottie can make or break this season for us.
Well, I mean, I think he is obviously their biggest and best chance at upward mobility, right?
Okay.
Like, where else are you looking for
Right.
that? I think you could say if Pascal is still on the team by season's end, then he will still almost certainly be the team's best player. And he can probably still get like a little bit better, or at
You
least
seen these
find.
above the break threes, man? Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
let's.
that would actually be a big improvement.
Yeah, man, you remember like the start of the
Yeah, I do.
2019-20 season when he
Yeah.
was just bombing pull-ups from above the break?
Yeah, what
Like,
happened to that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the bubble made it so difficult for him to be like, yeah, I'm not trusting my three ever again after
Yeah.
that whole bubble experience.
um,
So,
but I think, yeah, like you can maybe see him finding different avenues to like more success, just like bumping
Yeah.
up the scoring efficiency, maybe hitting more of those above the break threes, maybe defending with a little bit more consistency than we've seen in the last couple of years. But like he pretty much is who he is at this point. Whereas the future for Scottie is uncertain, right? It's
Yeah.
wide open. And I think the direction that his development path takes him is also like the direction that that's what's going to define this era of Raptors basketball. Basically,
I agree.
is
Yeah.
is where Scottie's development path takes him, and that's starting right now. And the team, I wouldn't say the team is necessarily built around him. Like, I don't think if you were building a team around Scottie Barnes to like optimize his strengths and maybe try to mask some of his weaknesses, I'm not sure this is exactly the team that you would build.
Okay.
But I think in terms of the messaging, everything that's been said by the front office and the coaching staff, they are sort of gearing more of this to him. They want him
Right.
to orchestrate more of the offense and for the ball to be in his hands more often. Like, they see him as being the future. And so, yeah, man, let's see it. Because
Yeah.
last season was a big disappointment. And I think that's okay. It was his second year in the league. He was 21 years old. Like, that happens. Doesn't have to mean that, I say this to Cash all the time. Development's not linear, right? Like, doesn't
Love that.
mean that
Another
he
Pythagorean theorem
There
of
you
basketball
go.
concept.
But like specifically in terms of like the offensive stuff in the half court, it was really bad. He was like, he was 19th percentile as a pick and roll ball handler, 31st percentile as an isolation scorer, 33rd percentile in post ups. Even in transition, he was 25th percentile as a transition
That's a little
scorer.
surprising. Yeah.
And it nets out to him having a 52.4% true shooting when the league average was 58%. Like,
Yeah.
it was tough. And so what are we looking to see from him this year, right? It's like, first of all, when people talk about the idea of Scottie as a point guard, another thing I've said to Cash is like, in transition, absolutely he can be a point guard. I think that's where it should stop for the most part. And that doesn't mean he can't be like a really effective playmaker in the half court, but that's a little bit different than like being the guy who's organizing the offense, who's running pick and roll. Like, in order for him to be doing that at higher volume, it's like he's got to tighten up the handle. We got to see him turning the corner rather than going sideways when he's coming off of screens. Like, having a workable pull-up jumper probably at some point, or at least being able, like, if guys are going under when you're running pick and roll, is your handle good enough so that you can kind of like get a rescreen and work your way to the basket that way? And or you're just like exploding so fast that you beat the guy to the spot who's going under the screen. Like, this is all stuff that we haven't really seen from him to this point. And that, it's stuff that could conceivably become part of his game, but like that's what's gonna, in a lot of ways, make or break, at least on the offensive side of the ball, what the Raptors can do this year.
I think an optimistic view, and where I would push back, is just like we see it more in flashes, but not in a consistent overall basis. So when especially if you look at last year's numbers, like definitely they don't jump off the page. But I do think the Raptors are really betting on the same player in roughly the same team, but being more empowered. And like I know that's not as like analytically grounded as where each play grades out in a sense of percentile and all that kind of stuff. But I think anyone in any workplace can relate to the idea that if you are really empowered and you're allowed to sort of like and you're encouraged to sort of explore, I think you do get more out of any employee in that context. I don't think basketball, even as unique as it is different in that context. And I think that that's what the organization has done. You know what I mean? And I think even in preseason, I mean, look, it might be just because he had a great game last night too, but we've seen Scottie have plenty of great games. And I know he's been coming up in big moments as well. I think what you're looking to see is more consistency across the board. And no matter what it is, even if it is mistakes, I would like to see aggressive mistakes rather than sort of. Well, for me, my bigger issue last year was just there were too many moments where he faded out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he looks great. I know you probably want to talk about his conditioning. His conditioning last night, it was great. It was awesome, man.
And that's a big part of him being a point guard in transition. Just be in transition as often as you can, and then you can be a point guard that much more often, right? So
I think it's a lot. I think he's been empowered. I think he is going to be in better shape. I think he's going to be more focused than he was at the start of last year, and having seen what last year was, and now knowing what he has to do to prepare himself physically and mentally, after his rookie season. Yeah. I think all of those things come into the mix here, and I think that organizationally, like his development it's I'm not breaking news by saying organizationally, like Scottie's development is the big thing, but even just this year, like in professional sports, organizations are selling hope, right? Like, they're selling wins and all that, but they're in entertainment, but they're selling hope to the fans too along this competitive cycle. And Scottie's development this season is going to be a big factor in whether fans and the public see this team as this confusing roster kind of stuck in no man's land, or a promising team on the rise. And for the organization, that's very big in trying to sell the hope.
It's like that meme when the guy puts a toothpick in his mouth. He's a different guy, It really but honestly, like it is a matter of perspective.
Scottie is the toothpick in this analogy, or
I think Scottie's the guy.
So what's the toothpick?
He's the toothpick in the mouth of the Raptors. Whatever. We don't have to take this any further. But to your point about the game that he had last night, though, a lot of scoring he was doing in the half court was as a roll man, right? I thought that was super interesting. Like,
I think that's a look the Raptors should honestly go to in more spurts, not to start games because obviously you have Yak. But
exactly.
Scottie as a backup center is a much better option than anybody else they could put at backup center. And it frees him up to do a lot of playmaking, like we saw. Like, it's not just the fact that he scored on the roll, but he popped out for three a couple of times. He was able to set up other players and teammates. He was able to just connect the play, like watching Scottie and how often he was on the ball yesterday. It looked like John Luca at the score FC, you know what I mean?
Wow.
He was our midfielder. He was a midfielder. So, I mean, obviously that's a big swing factor. Is there another player for you guys that's a big swing player in terms of what's going to make or break this Raptors season?
Yeah, just look at Wolfond's list here and try to come up with someone that's not on it. No, I'm going to go with Jakob Poeltl.
That's my pick. Okay, nice.
Because I think, especially, I know we're talking a little bit about last year, but if going into last season and the need for a center and the way last season played out and the glaring need for a center, a guy who does true big man things, true 7-footer things, carry that over to this season. I just think his presence is a huge swing factor, and what he can give them. If he can give them what he gave them, to close last season,
great.
That raises this team's floor, big time compared to what it was going into last year.
Yes, it just wasn't enough, and it came too late.
Right, and also, and I know Nurse isn't here anymore, so you can say this also is more about a stylistic change than just Poeltl being there. But still, regardless of who's the coach, Poeltl, a legit rim protector, being there, frees them up to not have to play as aggressively as they did on the ball last season. Again, I know they'll also probably would have done less of that anyway because of Darko versus Nurse, but Poeltl's presence helps allow that. Mm-hmm. And then finally, if you've listened to Darko speak about how he wants to use Yak offensively more as a playmaker from the elbows, something that I think he's very capable of doing. He showed it before. He's a smart, willing passer who with really good vision. I think that could be a big swing factor for their offense because the shooting isn't there still on this team. We know that. The half-court creation issues are still going to be there. We know that. This team is going to have to continue to find creative ways to manufacture points and good looks. And I think exploring Jakob's playmaking from the elbows is going to be a big part of that. So for those reasons, I think he's going to be a big swing factor on both ends.
Yeah. I mean, I might be the only person ever to say this, but I wish there were more preseason games because I think we just needed more of a contrast, right? Like I thought in the Kings game, Yak did such a good job of facilitating ball movement, his screening, his passing, even just sort of the way he was placing himself on the floor. It just opened up a lot of opportunities for other guys to score. And then the last two games, I mean, whatever, one was against that Australian team and then this one last night. I mean, like I would say they were more impressive on defense than they were on offense. And a lot of that was just, it didn't really look as functional. That 0.5 offense looked more like a 0.5 points per play offense without Jakob in there. Because, no, seriously, it just, they weren't able to, like, there were so many times, like, even throwing the ball to Thad Young, he just had a whole bunch of turnovers where Pascal trying to throw it to him, they miscommunicate. Him trying to throw it to OG, they miscommunicate. Him throwing to Malachi, they miscommunicate. That just doesn't happen with Yak in there, and I feel like the screening and everything is so important. Yeah, I mean, weirdly enough, he's kind of irreplaceable because, again, the Raptors don't really have other centers on the roster, especially with his skill set.
Yeah. And to that point, I guess the good news is Thad and Malachi probably aren't in the 10-man rotation, right?
I don't know.
That was a rough one for Thad last night.
Yeah, it was a rough
on
one
both
for Thad.
ends.
Yeah.
No, I mean, defensively, it was, my goodness. My goodness.
Yeah.
Guards turning downhill, bigs getting slips to the basket.
That and drop was
It don't matter what position it is. All right, like stuff.
But I don't think so. Like in the spirit of swing players, for me, I don't feel like Poeltl fits into that. Just because I feel like
He's just good.
his floor and his ceiling are like more just like one slab of concrete, basically.
But his presence, the difference between his
He's in a
presence
bungalow,
and
is what
But
you're
he
telling
is
me.
present,
He's a
so
bungalow.
like he's already
All
here.
right.
Anyway,
well,
I like to make a case for Gary Trent.
That's my third pick. Perfect. Let's go.
Just because I mean they need his shooting so badly.
Yeah, of course.
Not just accuracy, but volume.
Volume,
Right? Like they lose Fred, who was their highest volume 3-point shooter last year. Gary is the guy I think who's going to have to take a lot of those attempts, and they just badly need the spacing that he provides, which is why I think he will probably ultimately find himself in the starting lineup. And look, in terms of him becoming more multidimensional, that would be great to see.
Yeah.
And there were definitely positive signs to that effect.
I was gonna say.
I mean, that last game, that live dribble pocket pass that he made to Scottie on the roll. I mean, it was nice to see. And then in terms of like the scoring, even last year we saw 48% from floater range. Like that's like borderline elite.
He shot almost 50% inside the arc in general last year.
Yeah, it was his highest ever 2-point percentage, his highest free throw attempt rate, highest finishing percentage at the rim. Like all these positive indicators, even if it was like all a little bit incremental.
Yeah, for sure.
That was nice. But the shooting is by far the most important thing.
I agree. Yeah. And he's the closest thing the Raptors have to a movement shooter who's ready to contribute right now. Exactly. Grady will be that in the future. He might even be that by season's end, but Gary's the one who's ready to go.
And the most important part of that is you've talked about this, about how this offense is going to have to be more oriented around like creating advantages through off-ball movement, dribble handoffs, and things like that because of the sort of dearth of like high-end ball handling creation, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not where it's going to come from. So if you're thinking about this being maybe more of like a dribble handoff oriented offense, well, who's like the one guy on the team that can actually be a threat coming off of those DHOs? It's Gary.